What up? It's Jason here from Custom Cans, and I've got something a little bit different. I've got some Supsoo wireless active noise cancelling headphones. Now, it's not the kind of thing that I usually do here. You know, I'm normally messing around with the better known brands, but yeah, they reached out. They said, we've seen a couple of your videos, we'd like you to do a review of our headphones. And I said, like, I only have a very small YouTube following, and I'm going to pull these things apart and have a look inside. I think you're probably better off with, you know, someone else. And they said, no, we're super proud of our headphones, and we want you to have a look at them. And I'm like, okay, it's very, very unusual, but yeah, we'll give it a go. And they are interesting. They're pretty well made overall. We'll pull them apart in a minute. I've done this before. Unfortunately, the card on my camera died, so shooting again. But yeah, overall, like, they've got a premium feel. They've got a nice case. The plastics all look good. My wife was very happy with them. I let her have a go. She said they were super comfortable, very premium looking. They are very good at a lot of things, but they do have some things I don't like, and I'm thinking that might be a cultural thing. Now, I know you're thinking this guy's just a guy who pulls apart headphones, but I actually have a first-class honours degree in product design, so I know a little bit about design. And you may not know this, but different countries and different regions like different things. Like, for example, here's a classic one, Japan. They like everything small and wee, tiny weeny little things, and the more compact they can get it, the more premium they think those things are. Whereas in Africa, they like everything big. So when Trevor Bayliss invented the wind-up radio, his aim was to give people in Africa access to radio without having to buy batteries and things, where they can be quite expensive. So when he designed it, he made it deliberately big. It was like 3 times bigger than it needed to be, because when someone from that region picks it up and it's big, they go, this is a good thing. Whereas in the UK, where I come from, we value heaviness. It's a weird thing, but if you might see a person from the UK grab a thing, weigh it in his hands and say, "Ooh, nice, that's a high quality thing," because it's heavy. I don't know why it is. It's just like a cultural thing. Different people like different things. And it's the same with sound. We deal a lot with Sennheiser and Beyerdynamics, which are German headphones, and they are tested mostly by German people, and they like a very crisp treble. In the UK, we like dirty bass. We like bit more bass, and often feel they're a little bit lacking. Like a lot of the Beyerdynamic ones are lovely, but they're just a little bit too crisp in the treble. Not enough kind of bass for our likings. So that's why I started retuning them. I was kind of retuning them for the kind of American, UK type market. And I think that's the case with these. Got a really nice, crisp treble, good bass, like a lot of texture in the bass. The quality, it's not boomy, it's good quality bass. And just overall, the sound staging is great. We'll have a look and see why that is when we pull them apart. So really good sound staging. I've got a few people to listen to them, and everyone said kind of the same things. Like a good sound stage, there's like a lot of detail, a lot of accuracy. The thing that they didn't like was that the mids are quite far forwards. So that kind of upper mid region is higher than we're kind of used to listening to. And I'm wondering whether that's a cultural thing, because I can tell that they've put a lot of love into these, and they will have done their testing, and they do sound pretty great, but mids are just too far forwards for my likings. I think that if they're going to be selling these in the UK and the US, possibly on the next version, they want to do a special UK-US tune. Now, because these are wireless and, you know, you've got software that goes with them, shouldn't be at all a problem to do a bit of EQing and just sort that out, because I think the driver's capable of producing really great sound. It's just the tuning is a bit off for what I like. So anyway, enough preamble. Let's have a look at these things and see how they're made, and see the things I like, see the things I don't like, and yeah, interesting headphones. Right, so let's have a look inside. So overall, quality of the mouldings on the plastic, really, really good. Super smooth, really nicely made. Like the mouldings are very nice. You can see there's only a very light texture on here, which is often what they use to cover up problems in the mouldings. But yeah, there's no like dips and depressions where there shouldn't be. So whoever designed the tooling for this knew what they were doing, which is good. Kind of just gives that air of premiumness. The sliders, I noticed that they got quite a positive click. It does sound like they've got a metal clicking mechanism. And you've got a layer of spring steel over there with markings on. I don't know why you'd need the markings. You know, it's just a little bit extra. You can see it's at an interesting angle here. So they haven't just got jelly bean parts, because that would normally be straight. This has all been designed from scratch. You've got quite a thick piece of spring steel there, and then I don't know if you can see that, but you've got like a channel underneath there, which is where the cables would go over. With noise cancelling headphones, you end up with a lot of wires. The pads themselves are very squishy and very comfortable. That's one thing that my wife mentioned, and a couple of other people have said. They're super comfy. The headband, very squishy. Squishier than I like. And again, I think this is a Chinese thing. The Hi-Fi Man headphones, even though they're very expensive and premium, have this weirdly, like, quite a thin material over a lot of foam, and a bit squishier than a European designed headphone. A European designed headphone would usually be a harder rubber or leather or something like that over the top, so that when you put it down it doesn't get skagged as easily. And this might make it more comfortable. I'm just saying, it's just interesting. Something I've noticed about premium Chinese headphones: squishier headbands. Don't know why that is. Perhaps the Chinese market likes that. Yeah, let's have a look inside. Let's pop off a pad. So these kind of just clip in, and you see you've got L and R in here, so you can tell which way round they go, which is handy for some people. But yeah, and you've got a bit of mesh over there, which will stop hair and things from getting inside. Underneath, we've got a little bit of foam, which is sort of laser cut to the right shape to go in there. And this will probably be partially due to tuning. It might be interesting to pull that out and see what the difference that makes to the sound. And then inside here, as you can see, we've got an angled driver, and that is what's helping with the sound staging. So yeah, getting that sound to come at you as it would from speakers rather than straight in makes the sound staging a bit better, I found. And that seems to be the case on a lot of these headphones. So you'll see like the HD800, that kind of stuff, which is renowned for its sound staging, angled driver. And then in the center here, you've got a microphone, which will be to do with an active noise cancelling. So they're actually sampling the sound on the inside, just above where your ear hole is. And I don't deal with active noise cancelling. I've not designed anything like that, so I don't know how that would help. But it seems like a sensible place to have a microphone if you want to sample the sound inside, compare it to the sound outside, and then take them away from each other, which is how the active noise cancelling works. You'll see on the back here, you've got microphone hole there and there. So what it'll do is it'll sample the sound from the outside, sample the sound from the inside, find what the difference is, and then play a negative version of that sound through the driver, which will cancel out the sound coming in from the outside. So I probably haven't explained that very well. I might do another video on how that works. I don't know. But yeah, essentially you're playing the negative version of that sound to cancel out the positive version of that sound. But it needs the microphones to figure out what it should be doing there, and then a little bit of clever processing. So let's get this out. So this part in here doesn't seem to say what it's made of there, but I'm thinking probably some kind of nylon. Feels a bit I don't know, feels a bit waxy. It might be POM or PA6. Let's get this out. So we've got 4 screws holding that in, and then from what I remember, these are also clipped in, so it's not that easy to get that click. There we go. So that's, yeah, nice tight fitment on there. Oh, and look at all the gubbins in there. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in this. Noise cancelling headphones, that's how it is. Because you've got all the microphones and things like that, the Bluetooth, you've got a lot of circuitry in there. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot of wires. So these will be transferring the sound from all the various microphones that are in here and the drivers and stuff through from one side to the other. So dismantling, I'm not going to take this out just because unsoldering 20 wires which are actually glued in place, which is quite nice. So they're soldered and then they've run, this is quite a hard kind of epoxy type stuff that they've stuck over the top, which will mean that those are going nowhere, which is good from a longevity point of view, bad from me trying to pull it apart point of view. Here you can see this secondary board up here, little daughter board, which will be for the buttons for the active noise cancelling and the headphone socket, so you can actually run these with a cable, which is nice. The actual driver enclosure, as you can see, you have a separate, let's have a look, so you've got a separate bit here. They're marked left and right because they won't be symmetrical, which again is going to add to the cost, but they've done it because it's the right way to do it, especially with your angled driver. They're not going to be symmetrical. So you've got a separate little enclosure here with some kind of base port here that links to a little hole in there, which vents it out to the outside world. In some ways, that's going to make the tuning easier, because if you've got the same on both sides, it won't matter how much extra gubbins you've got in here, you'll have the same air volume that you're dealing with, and it'll make kind of the tuning a bit easier. So that might be why they've done it. I've seen this in other headphones, like the Neumann. They had this kind of thing. I've seen a few Sonys. I've seen a Sony with a very similar looking bass port, so they might have taken some inspiration from a Sony design. So inside here, this is your main board. Okay, so let's see if we can tackle the circuitry in a vaguely Big Clive kind of way with an overhead shot. And we'll so here you can see the main circuit board here, and if you'll bear with me a minute, I've printed out a larger copy for you. And if I was Big Clive, obviously I'd mess around now and say I'm just going to zoom in a wee bit and stuff. But I can't do the relaxing Scottish lilt. I am from the land of dragons and leeks, so perhaps I could do it in a Welsh accent. I know it's not quite as relaxing. Right there. Let's have a look. So here is the main circuit board. Right, so this is the BES2300, and having a quick look at the spec sheet for it. It's got an ARM Cortex on there, it's got Bluetooth 5, it's got 2 megabytes of onboard memory to hold all the stuff. But this will handle all of the noise cancellation, that kind of stuff. So that's what it'll be using the processor for on that, and the memory. So it's got inputs for all the microphones, and it's also got, what have we got? So we got 2 DACs as well, one for left, one for right. Pretty fancy bit of kit there. What other chips have we got on here? So you got this LK26, that looks like it's probably the clock generator. I couldn't seem to find anything about that. This is some kind of CMOS chip. I couldn't find this one, the RS5500. Don't know what that one is, but this is the main brain box, and this is the actual headphone amplifier. So this is the HT97200, which is there we go. That's the bugger there. So that's the actual headphone amplifier. So you've got the left in plus and minus, right in plus and minus coming from the 2 DACs on the other one into this, and then out to drive the headphones. Yeah. So as I was saying, you've got 2 DACs on the thing, one for left and one for right. You've got 2 separate amplifiers, one for left, one for right on here. So that could obviously help with the channel separation. It keeps them separate. They're not sharing a ground connection, so that might contribute to the fact that these have got good sound staging, keeping the left and the right separate all the way. Yeah, the actual circuit board all seems pretty decent. There's not anything wrong with it. And one thing that I noticed as well, like it's got custom printed ribbon cables that match the model number of the thing and the daughter board, so it's all kind of bespoke stuff to work together. And you've also got a decent sized aerial on there for the Bluetooth 5. I've actually been pretty impressed with these. I haven't played with that many Bluetooth headphones, but these ones, I haven't had any kind of dropouts. I've been using them over quite a big range. Like I've been leaving my phone downstairs, going upstairs, walking all around the workshop. They've been fine. Yeah, so the actual Bluetooth side of it all seems very good. And I did notice somewhere in here that this has also got a built-in EQ function, so you can preset EQs and stuff in here, which might be what they're storing with the CMOS, some kind of presets on there. So this probably will be updatable via firmware. So if they do decide to do a retune on the sound of this, you should be able to just do it all from your phone with some kind of update, which is gives it a bit of future proofing, I suppose. Let's have a look at in the other hole. So what have we got in here? So other side, again, you've got microphone for the outside, same there. On this side you've got the USB-C, which is nice. It's nice and standardized. I like the fact that USB-C is becoming standardized now. It means I can charge my phone, everything off the same wire. My microphone plugs in with USB-C. USB-C, it's the way forwards. It doesn't break like micro USB. It's good. It's good. They've got it right this time. Stick with that. So again, you've got a little daughter board with the USB-C and all your little buttons. And a battery. What kind of battery are we looking at here? We've got, let's pull that off. What's that? So that's a 1000 milliamp hour pouch cell. Don't know if you can see on there, but you've got a battery protection circuit on there, so it's unlikely to burst into flames and burn your hair off. That's what you want. Some Chinese stuff you won't see that. You won't see that. They're a little bit laissez-faire about catching fire and stuff. They do what they want. Yeah, so you've got a big old chunky wire, which again you got. I don't know if you can see around here. There's a whole mess of wires attached to this daughter board. USB-C stuff, power, microphones, all that stuff being transferred through the headband to the other one. So, you know, repairability is not going to be high on this. I don't think it can be avoided. I've dismantled a few pairs of wireless headphones, like if you've got a pair of Bose or something like that. They are a bit of a nightmare like this. They're not as repairable, but some of the daughter boards have got ribbon cable. Like this daughter board here you could replace, so the one with the headphone socket, if you break the headphone socket, you could replace this daughter board. It's just held in with a ribbon cable. But this one is all soldered in place, so that is going to be a bit trickier. The III, the TMA wireless, they were really good for a repairability point of view, but they weren't quite as fancy as these. They didn't have active noise cancelling, that kind of thing. So it's interesting. Yeah. So my main kind of comparisons that I've got, because I haven't done a huge amount of wireless headphones, the TMAs, which were really nicely repairable, just simple. They just get the job done. You know, they got a Bluetooth receiver. Other than that, it's a pretty normal pair of headphones, and they had a replaceable USB-C socket, which was nice because that's what you're going to break. All the parts in that were pretty easy to replace, but it was very simple. Didn't do a lot. Whereas you got the Bose ones, which are hugely overcomplicated. There's so much going on inside them. They're slightly repairable. They've got stuff that you could detach if you could get hold of the parts. These ones are kind of somewhere in between. They're not, you're not going to be able to repair these very easily. You will be able to replace the battery, I would have thought, but you're going to need to do a little bit of soldering because it's soldered in place. It's not socketed. So not really designed to be user serviceable. All right, so let's get the actual money shot. What I'm noticing here, you see where the wire goes into the enclosure? They've glued over that to seal it, which is nice. But it does make pulling it apart. Oh, you've got a gasket inside. Yeah, so inside here you've got a gasket which goes around, which is going to seal the driver in there. I better get that back in when I get it back together. And then we got a pretty decent looking driver. As you can see, you've got quite a big driver. Let's have a look. What have we got? So the actual diaphragm of the driver is close to 40 mil. It's just under like 38, 39 mil. I'd say it's probably a 40 mil driver. That's like how they would measure it, from probably edge to edge. And then the actual magnet in the back here is pretty chunky. I know this is a bit of metal on top of the magnet, but that's probably roughly the size of the magnet. That is sort of 24 mil on there. You've got a bit of mesh over the back here, which will partially be for tuning. So they've done some work on that, and this will be a tuned enclosure. So, yeah, I think it seems nicely put together. It's got a bit more love in it than you would generally see, than you would see in a cheaper pair of headphones. These are quite expensive. These are sort of 200 and something. So they are kind of a premium headphone, but yeah, they're nicely put together. They've put some care into it. They've glued all these wires in place. And they've also done this kind of separate enclosure thing for the driver, which means that it doesn't matter what they have in these. It's not going to affect the balance left to right. Yeah, so right, let's get this gasket back into place. And yeah, things like having this little rubber gasket will have increased the manufacturing cost. So it's an extra part. It's an extra part that needs to be put in when they build it. It just shows that they've put in a bit of care. I think getting into the headband is going to be tricky because it's got screws in places I can't get to very easily. So I'm just going to bend the yoke out, see if I can get this off without breaking it. Alright, okay. So that's got the ear cup vaguely loose, and now I should be able to get to the screws in the... I could have just bent it like that. Easier than I thought. Right, so you've got screws under here, which look like they're going to release this, because I'm quite interested in the clicky mechanism. That's always a good sign, if they can get the clicking mechanism right. It shows a bit of love. Let's have a look, see what we've got in here. Judging a headphone based on its clicky mechanism? Yeah, why not? Okay. Ooh! Yeah, look, big chunky metal parts in here. an actual metal pin going through the hinge. This is the clicking mechanism. Again, it's metal, as I suspected. You could kind of just tell from the thing. But that is yeah. I'm gonna say, yeah. Look at that. Look at that hinge. I've seen worse hinges on more expensive headphones. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. So, build quality, very good. I'm gonna say the circuitry inside seems pretty good. You know, I've looked up the data sheet for this. It's got enough punch. It's Bluetooth 5, so you're gonna get low latency, decent quality. Give me a minute. I'll put this back together, and then we'll go through the sound. Because I have had a good old listen to these, and I know it doesn't look like they're ever going to go back together now, but I'm hoping I can put these back together. And yeah, we'll have a listen. But yeah, surprisingly good. Like, look at the thickness on that. Like the spring steel part of the headband is it's just under 1 millimeter, so 0.9 mil, so just under 1 mil. It's pretty thick and chunky. You know, it's pretty well put together. I suspect that these will last. Before I forget, you know, like and subscribe. You want to see more stuff taken apart? I got some more stuff to take apart. You subscribe. You'll see inside more headphones. It's just how it is. Also, there's a link in the description to where you can get a little bit of discount off these. So if you like the look of these, fancy buying a pair, there's a link in the description, and you can get them a bit cheaper. Anyway, okay. So let's have a little test. Let's have a measure. Because basically, I was listening to these and I was a bit perplexed because they sound good. They've got good crisp highs, detailed bass, that kind of stuff. There's just the mids are just a little bit too far forward. So there's like a peak in the mids that just is a bit too much for me. Now it's probably a personal taste thing. I think you could definitely learn to love these. But I think a bit of EQing and you've got a really nice headphone. But I think they just need to take the mids down. And I'm wondering whether that is a cultural thing, like I was mentioning with the design. Possibly the Chinese market, the testers that they've got, prefer mids, just like the Germans prefer it nice and sparkly. Some countries like a lot of bass. It might be that the testers that they used preferred that sound and that's how they tuned them. But for my personal taste, as a UKG kind of guy, want a bit more bass, and I got some other people to test it. My wife, who's not an audiophile, she said, yeah, nice, but lacking a little bit of bass. Gave it to James, one of our technicians. He's just like, oh yeah, mids, highs, bit too far forwards, that kind of stuff. So I think the general consensus is good sound quality, but could do with a bit more bass maybe, or a bit less upper mids. But yeah, that's an EQing thing. That's the kind of thing you can sort out. But I think the basic sound is pretty good. But these are a classic example of burn-in, because when I first got them, I stuck them on the test bed and we took a measurement and it looked kind of like this, and I'm like, oh yeah, well that makes sense, like you've got a lot of drop off in the bass and like some weird, like a massive dip somewhere in the high end, which is like unusual. But then after using them for a week, they kind of started to ease up a bit, and I wondered whether it was just me getting used to them. But no, I put them on the test bed today, and now we're getting this. So it's got rid of some of that dip that it had in the mid-range, and the bass has increased a little bit, but I still think it could do with more. That said, if we look at the distortion, if we get that total harmonic distortion up, really good. You know, I've seen some expensive headphones with some pretty big peaks in the distortion, and it's pretty good. You know, it's kind of what I would expect from a decent pair of headphones. So I think that the driver is good, the circuitry is good, the build quality is good. I think they just need like a UK tune. They need like the UK edition, where they beef up the bass just a little bit. As for active noise cancelling, which is quite nice, you can use that with the cable, or you can use it wirelessly, obviously, but some of them you can't do it with the cable. But yeah, when you're listening to the cable, you can still turn on the active noise cancelling, and that works surprisingly well. Like this morning, I was wearing these into work, I was listening to stuff just to get that final little thing in my head before I shot the video. Came into the office, accidentally set off the burglar alarm, didn't notice. The active noise cancelling seemed to work very well for whatever frequencies the alarm was at, because yeah, we went, oh, set the alarm off. So yeah, the active noise cancelling, very good. It's a mixed bag really. I think overall they're well made. You know, I can't complain. I've seen some very expensive non-wireless headphones that are built not quite as well as this. So they seem to be built right. I think the only thing that's letting down is the tuning. I think they just need a flatter bass response, a bit more bass. Like the bass is very detailed and textured, and it drops all the way down. Like you can hear the very low frequencies, you can hear stuff down in the 20-30 hertz range, and it's there. It's not all boomy, but it's just a little bit. You can see on the graph, just gradually tails off to the lower the frequency you get, and I genuinely think that might just be a cultural tuning type affair. Yeah, so that was very interesting, and I'm going to have a bit more of a play with these, and I might do a bit of tuning myself just to see if I can bring that back in line and get it where I want it. And then we might give these away, because I don't really need wireless headphones. And obviously I'll check with Supsoo to make sure they're all right with that. But yeah, so we might give these away. Stick a comment in the thing, and yeah, let me know if you want them. It'll be a few weeks because I want to have a bit more of a play with them. But yeah, once I'm done with them, might as well go to someone who wants like a premium, well-built pair of wireless active noise cancelling headphones. Especially someone if they're like mids forward, Yeah, so if you've got any questions, stick them in the thing down below, and I will try and get back to you. Anyway, yeah, it's been super fun hanging out. Jason out.